with the American dream, and I met a guy in a bar, much like tonight, not like tonight, kind of, that said there was a hailstorm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that people actually go out and get roofs replaced, insurance companies pay for them. I'm like, what? That's how I got into the industry back in 1999. I went to door knocked for a general contracting company just to pay off some college debt. And made some money, and I thought, wow, this is a very interesting industry, but there's no books, no training, there's no conferences back then. How many people went into business in 1999? Damn, I'm old. Okay, so back then there was nothing. In fact, for the next 15 years there was nothing. And I did well. My first year, by my second year, I became the sales manager, sold $3.2 million, mainly residential, mind you. Sold a couple commercial jobs, mainly residential. And I learned a lot of stuff as I went. I learned as I went. How many people learned as they went from adjusters, the ride along with Tom, all the bad habits you could possibly think of, using the wrong contract because it's passed down from the last guy they worked for with a new fucking logo on it. Went through all that. The old NBA was kicking out. I'm also ex-military. How many military guys got in the house? Booyah, baby. What branch? Navy? All right, I won't hold that against you. Just kidding. Infantry? Ground. We didn't like to be in the sea or in the air. How about you?
Linguist.
Who?
Marine Corps linguist.
Well, Marine Corps. Okay, I gotta chill out there.
I'll give you a round later.
Hey, to the veterans. Let's give a round of applause to the veterans. I'm a big supporter of the veterans. In fact, you guys both got free tickets to win the Storm Conference. You know that? Yeah, I always provide free tickets to the conference, the veterans. So I believe in supporting the veterans. So get with Kaylee. Kaylee, raise your hand. She'll get you set up. GA, not VIP, so we're going to call you later and try to upgrade the VIP. You always got to upsell. You got to teach people to upsell. But they should have done that at 3 o'clock today. Right? Pre-quality control. Make a long story short, I got into this industry by mistake to pay off college debt as a salesperson. Made a lot of money as a salesperson. Then I went on to become a licensed general contractor and then a licensed roofing contractor in Minnesota, Chicago. Worked my way through all the hailstorms of the Midwest, St. Louis, Louisville, all the way down to the hurricanes of Florida. Charlie, Francis, Gene, Wilma, Katrina, worked all those as an owner. And then later on, Irma and even Michael as SVG. 2013, 2014, I launched SVG to help industry entrepreneurs and the people that work for you. Because you entrepreneurs, a lot of you guys think you know everything. How many of you guys think they know everything there? We all do. A lot of guys, but it's not about you, it's about your people. How do you train your people? How do you hire and train? How do you train somebody that was delivering Domino's Pizza last week, which is your labor pool, went on a knock a door, inspect a roof, meet an adjuster, do an appraisal. What's an appraisal? How do I talk about this? How do I not violate UPPA? How many people know about UPPA? UPPA. Who knows what UPPA is here? You guys don't even know. There's a state statute here in Florida that violates your constitutional rights as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, as a manager in this industry. So you can't talk about certain things unless X. Or you can't talk about damage on a property in certain cases. So UPPA, which is a gray area state statute, is a violation of your constitutional rights. You are the expert on weather, workmanship, and warranty, and not the IA, not the PA, public adjuster, not even the policy. These are my friends now, policyholder attorneys, not the desk adjuster, not even the engineer. Any engineers in here? No, we got a policyholder attorney in here. Raise your hand. Morgan. Unfortunately, we need to have a Rolodex in our hip pocket of certain people to be successful in this industry. It's not sell, build, collect anymore like it was back in the day. You need to unfortunately have, I say unfortunately because things are changing where people are trying to silence the contractor. They're trying to silence the American entrepreneur. There's certain states where UPPA laws are the fact that you guys don't know that is amazing to me because you should be aware of it because it's a third-degree misdemeanor or a felony in certain states. If you say certain things or if you have the wrong language in your contracts or the wrong title on your name on a business card, like you cannot be an insurance claim specialist anymore. You guys aware of that? And fine, so call yourself a project manager, whatever. So play the game, but the point is, some people have taken it to a certain level through fear, a lot like what's going on in America today, the fear mongering, right? Anybody here down with the fear mongering in America? No? COVID-19? So a lot of that is the same, it's very similar. And you have to understand what UPPA is. And you have to understand it because it could change and become more dramatic later on. Meaning, You do not want to be shut down as the expert on the job, on the project, as a signed contractor, as the expert on weather, workmanship, and warranty, 3 W's. Who's the expert on weather, workmanship, and warranty as it relates to building materials and labor installation? You guys are. And not the policyholder attorney, not the IA, not the PA, not the desk adjuster, not even the engineer. You guys are. And you have to remember that. You have to learn how to flex contractor muscle. Who's got water? You have to understand these UPPA laws because there's a movement of carriers, which I call an oligopoly. Anybody know what oligopoly is? Yep. Small group of companies that get together, and they don't sit in executive rooms to get together because that would be illegal. They do it through third-party firms, TPA firms, engineering firms, lawyers that they hire, and they talk and come to agreement on certain things through third-party firms. Am I right? Maybe she don't, maybe she don't. And they start things like, Xactimate needs to become the price system of all jobs in America, okay? Xactimate is a computer algorithm. How many people use Xactimate here? How many people actually know how to use Xactimate here? Okay? Unfortunately, 80% of the industry does not. And they rely on what? Supplementing companies. How many people use supplementing companies here? A lot of them are vendors at my conference. The last 10 years, I remember, 20 years ago, there was no supplementing companies. We learned as sales guys how to use Xactimate or how to dictate our price. In 1999, 2000, Xactimate wasn't a thing. We used lump sum contracting, which is you set a price. I'm sure an adjuster was any other end using Xactimate or something like it, but it wasn't really a thing back then. And you negotiate it, and you said, hey, this is what I need to do the job. There's a movement by carriers and these third-party firms and engineers and lawyers that benefit from this. They benefit from this thing. And I mean, the insurance executives at the publicly traded companies, they might not even know this is going on because they task out claims process and handling to third-party firms. And they benefit greatly off this. And that's why we deal with this every day. Most of you guys are trying to go out and do what? Sell, build, collect. Sell, build, collect. Fix Mrs. Smith's roofing's house, right? Unfortunately, you need what in your back pocket these days to be successful? You need a structural, you need an engineer, you need a policyholder attorney. When you need one, you need a public adjuster sometimes. You need to have a Rolodex or an arsenal of weaponry, so to say, to take on $1 billion carrier who's putting these statutes and lobby groups and these things in place that are slowing the process, which are underpaid, no pay, slow paid claims, across the board. I was just in Lake Charles. 2 days ago, I was in Lake Charles 3 days after the storm hit, the hurricane. We took over the casino. We were the first ones in, the first responders. I was supposed to be there for 5 days. I ended up staying for 45 days, not because I wanted to, because we usually film courses. How many people here use SVG University? Can I get a booyah or something?
Yeah!
The reason I created that university, starting 4 years ago, was to train the guy who was delivering Domino's Pizza, the sales guy, the production manager, the QC inspector, the production manager, the AR manager, the office manager, the general manager, and even the owner, how to maneuver through this crazy, chaotic, $100 billion plus roofing and restoration industry. It's not easy, and it's not sell, build, collect. It's sell, bid, estimate, engineer, appraisal, attorney, and all this kind of stuff goes on because the carriers are making it more difficult to put on Mrs. Smith's roof after a storm. Am I right? It was a storm. Was it not?
Yeah.
COVID-19 was a storm. It's a storm. It's a storm of virus. Now, Medicaid from China, whatever, that's all different political stuff, but it's a storm, and it shut down a lot of businesses. Like this year at Winter Storm, we're talking about storms and property casualty. We also have breakout sessions for BI insurance, business interruption. You guys have business interruption claims?
Yes.
Okay. When I file a claim, if there's a protest, there's a riot, if there's a vandalism, do I file it under vandalism or do I file it under rioting?
Force majeure.
Guess what? If you file under vandalism, you're more likely to get paid. If you file under rioting, you might not get paid. So all these things now, for the first time ever, REITs, some of the largest policyholders in America, facility managers, risk managers, property managers are supposed to be in charge of the policies of some commercial policyholders that own like all the Taco Bells across America, or yada yada, all that kind of stuff. For the first time, because of COVID-19, they weren't really interested before for property casualty. Because of COVID-19, now they're interested. Now they're like, holy shit, I should have read my policy, right? Virus exclusion. Should I file it under this? Should I file it under that? Now that's not my lane, so to say. But I talk to a lot of attorneys, so I know what's going on. So we're bringing them in too. So this year at Win the Storm, it's not just contractors, public adjusters, policyholder attorneys. Usually it is. We're bringing the largest policyholders in America in. Why? Because they're interested in how to read a policy. What's an exclusion? What should I have done differently? Because they relied on their employees to read that thing that's this thick, and they never read it, and they didn't know that all those exclusions. It also applies to property casualty. So you might, on Wednesday, we do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's February 3, 4, 5. Wednesday's gonna be a lot of breakout sessions geared for policyholders, owners of companies, and VIP ticket holders. If some of the largest policyholders in America are gonna be there. Not a lot, maybe 400 or 500, but enough. Maybe you rub elbows with them. Maybe you'll sign their deal. I don't know. But we're bringing it in because they want to learn. They want to learn, like, why did this happen to me? And then on top, you got all the hailstorm. You got a direct. How many people were at the Derecho? Is it Derecho or derecho? Derecho. Of Iowa. I didn't learn derecho until this year. I've been here 20 years. They even know what a Fujiwara is? That's where 2 hurricanes collide and become exponentially greater than one. It almost happened this year on the southern coast. It didn't happen. But you start learning, there's a lot of different events taking place. The storm industry is growing exponentially, which is a great opportunity. You guys are one of the greatest opportunities in America, I think, for income. If you're a sales guy, key manager, or owner, it doesn't matter. You sales guys have a chance to make a lot of money. I started out in sales, made a lot of money in sales, which eventually made me become an entrepreneur. Now your owners don't want me to tell you that. You guys don't want to become entrepreneurs. But eventually, this industry is a great industry. It's an essential business right now in America, regardless of COVID-19, in a recession-proof industry. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's recession-proof. It's a great industry to be in. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses across America, a lot of small businesses and different businesses got shut down and decimated by COVID-19. It's disastrous. I spent 2 months this last year shooting a documentary called Unconstitutional. Anybody see my trailers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're out there. Maybe we'll play one tonight. If you guys want to see one? You guys want to see a couple of them? Documenting, and it's not political, it's documenting the decimation of small business across America from COVID-19. People that'll never come back. Never come back, small businesses, entrepreneurs. Because of what happened. A lot in the restaurant industry, but gyms, that'll never come back. Restaurants, nightclubs, all kinds of businesses that were decimated because, some politician made a decision to just call them not essential. So you guys are lucky to be essential. Believe me, a lot of friends of mine are no longer business owners because of this. It has nothing to do with tonight, but it's part of America. And when we talk about the Constitution, you can see a similar pattern. And when you see UPPA laws, which you guys should familiarize yourselves with in Florida, because it's here, it's a lot of states, more powerful than other states, that are saying that you can't talk about a certain thing to a desk adjuster over the phone, that you can't talk about your price or your opinion on whether workmanship and warranty, where you're talking about a desk adjuster who's got a business card and is breathing. Business card and is breathing, that's how they hire them. And they don't go through any kind of formal training except what that company puts on. No kind of license training, no kind of background checks, nothing. And here you are, 15, 20 years in the business. Maybe you and your crew's been working with these materials forever. And you understand exactly what hail or wind does to materials, and all of a sudden, you're told to shut up and you can't say anything. And if you guys allow that to happen, we allow that to happen, you're going to allow all these third-party TPA firms allow what this industry becomes. And everything's going to look like it looks in Lake Charles today, with a bunch of blue tarps blowing off, because they should have shrink-wrapped them all, right, Larry? They should have shrink-wrapped them all. And they should have done it at $350 a square, because it's emergency mitigation, not normal work. And we show you how to do that in SVGU, by the way. But there's a lot of stuff going on. This is a beautiful, guys, this is a great issue. It changed my life. The reason I come out, I'm very passionate about it, because the industry brought me out of corporate America, thank God. Became an entrepreneur. First I was a sales guy. By the way, you salespeople in here, make sure you actually learn the business before you want to be an entrepreneur. Eventually you'll get that itch. You're an American, you get that itch. It's going to take 2 or 3 years, because I see a lot of salespeople out there going, hey, I'm going to form and start my own company. Put yourself 3 years and stay with the same company and actually learn this business before you jump out. Because you jump out too early, a lot of them go out of business. I talk to a lot of them all the time. It's because they jumped out too early. And I know that happens a lot in this industry. That's why I left sales. Somebody didn't pay me. How many of that happens? Anybody not get paid here by somebody? It happens a lot in the industry, right? It makes you want to become an entrepreneur or whatever. But some of that is a myth. Some of that's a myth. We just want to become the entrepreneur. We make shit up in our minds too. But stay with a company or stay with a good company 2 to 3 years and really learn this business, because it's not sell, build, collect. There's a lot of nuances to this industry. One of the reasons, so if you guys don't know what we do, SVG now, 2014 I chased a storm, 2013 I chased a storm to Australia. Anybody here chase a storm to Australia? Only crazy people do that. And I brought like 15, 20 sales guys out there, lost like $500,000, and then my joint venture partner in Australia, a $44 million company, didn't pay me after I left Australia. I could only stay there for 90 days. It was a conundrum, and I came back and I experienced a whole other set of defaults in my book called Win the Game. So I had to downsize and like recreate myself, yada, yada, yada. We talk about it, win a storm each year. Look, this business is like this. 1 year you're up here going, yeah, I did 20 million last year. You got a boat, you got all this. The next year like this, because you have to learn how to ride the bell-shaped curve. This industry, this business, and no business is like this. They don't ever go up forever. That's a myth. It's always like this. And that's everything as an entrepreneur, by the way. And you have to learn how to ride this. Some of you guys ride the storm, which is great. What do you do when there's not a storm? How do you hire and train effectively when there's not a storm? How do you maintain that curve so you don't just, I got to chase the next storm all the time. Some of you guys in this room are probably storm catchers. You don't chase. That's okay. We get more people to call SVG, my company, every day that are not storm chasers. We already got all them. We get the storm catchers. We get guys in New York, Massachusetts, Lake Charles. Like, hey man, why are all these guys coming to my city and getting all this business, and why am I not? Let me show you how to do it. It's a certain set of contracts, forms, and documents you have. We custom brand those at SVG. Compliant AOCs, build contracts, service agreements, contingency agreements. In some states, they have to be worded in certain ways so you don't violate UPPA. We stay on track of all that stuff. We custom brand. They're templates. By the way, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney, just so you guys know. We're like LegalZoom. We custom brand stuff, and then we create virtual training. How to use that to train your people. Because some of you owners think you know everything, and you might know a lot of stuff. It ain't about you. The only way to skill in this industry is what? Mike? Martinez?
To grow and hire and recruit.
Is to duplicate yourself. It's not billboards, it's not truck wraps. You gotta do all that too. It's not fancy marketing materials. You gotta have all that. That's frosting. The cake is hiring and training. And if you can hire and train 10, 15, 20 people, most of you guys work at Sally, I'm assuming? It's a good storm?
Oh, yeah.
Sally's good. I like Florida. You go to Lake Charles, Louisiana executive price is half of what it is here. They don't have the codes. They don't have Florida matching law. They don't have the 25% repair rule. They don't have wind lift tests on tile where it goes over 1 inch across a certain amount of squares. You got to buy the whole roof. If you know how to use that data and you bring that data to an adjustment, and that field adjuster who doesn't know because he came from Cincinnati has no clue what I just said, and he presents to his desk adjuster, they know what you know what you're talking about. Guess what? You're gonna get that roof bought. You have to know how to provide that supporting documentation. And it's not about, if you know that, you say, well, I know that. It ain't about you. It's about the next 10 guys. How do you make them know it like this? That's what virtual training does. That's what I do. I give your people, you're at their fingertips, access to all the pertinent data, discontinued shingle and tile letters, Florida matching law, case study, overhead and profit Florida Supreme Court rulings. All that stuff's at your fingertips through virtual, where you can download it and give it to the adjuster while you're on a roof in real time. All the RSC codes from 2007 to 2014. Every exactament macro, from fire restoration to water to tarping to every roofing system you could possibly see, the best line items you've ever seen, is accessible at your fingertips in SVG University. Okay? And if you have that data, and if you have supporting documentation, you know how that deck sheet looks and how you talk to a desk adjuster, and Skit calls the desk adjuster, maybe we'll do one for fun. Maybe you guys want to see one for fun later? Where I'm talking to a desk adjuster on lump sum contracting, which is very difficult to get approved over the phone, because you're telling that, you're basically saying, fuck Xactimate, this is my price, and Mrs. Smith says this is my price. There's a process to that. What kind of contract did you use? What kind of disclaimers did you send in? What kind of, how did your deck sheet look to the desk adjuster? How do you talk to them? I mean, it doesn't just happen, there's a process, but there's a way to do it. And we explore those ways. The best ways to use Xactimate are in there. If you want to use lump sum contract, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. But you have to know, and you have to have the right support and documentation in order to do that. That's my job. I go out and I work with the best entrepreneurs in the industry. I've already exhausted what I know inside that virtual training platform. I don't know everything. I don't know every roofing system. But I go meet now with manufacturer reps. You can learn how to build it by manufacturer specs, stone-coated steel, Duralast, all that kind of stuff now in virtual, and then download their warranty information or specs and all that in real time. Or if you're talking to a desk adjuster, what kind of supporting documentation do I really need to get this approved? Because everybody calls it, hey man, there's 4 trades, I want overhead and profit. Blah, 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 it's not complex enough, it's not this, it's not that, right? How many of you guys hear that? It's not complicated enough. You know how complicated it is to build a roof in a COVID-19 environment?
With an insurance company?
Do you know in a lot of states right now you gotta wear a mask? And the social distancing says you gotta be 6 feet away from somebody while you're just being a human. Can you imagine if you actually followed that on doing a roof or replacing a floor or cabinets inside a house? Michael NASCAR, is he here? Is NASCAR here? You imagine you're an interior guy. Imagine all your guys 6 feet away trying to put a cabinet in with a mask on and talking to each other. Okay? We'll put it into reality. Okay? Now here's another thing, per CDC statutes. Do you know what you're supposed to clean with a chemical fog or spray when you're working on a residential home or a commercial property? You're supposed to spray that mofo at the end of the day, just in case another worker shows up that might not have been there that day, or a homeowner or a property or a property manager might show up, maybe inspect your work. And if you look in the attic as a roofer, because you're supposed to, a lot of you don't do it, but you're supposed to look up there and check the decking when you do the inspection. You're supposed to check that. You're supposed to check things after you do the roof. Do you guys do that? I never did, but you're supposed to. Now you got to spray the attic because you went up there and sneezed or breathed. Sprayed. 3,000 square foot. There's guys getting 150 to 2,000 square foot right now for COVID cleaning bacterial infection. Every day after their job site. There's guys getting it right now. I have the emergency mitigation ticket in SVG on how to get it. A lot of you guys aren't doing it, but you know what? You should be. If you're going to play the game out there, if Americans say, hey, I got to wear a mask to do this, then play the game on your work sites and then bill for it to the carrier. You all learn how to do it in SVG University. How do I know that? Because I find the 5 guys in the country that are doing it and getting it, and I find out what their ticket looks like and how to do it in the process, and I film it and I put it in SVG University. I find the best practices. Because if America's going to say we're going to play that game, then play the game on your job sites. And they should pay for it. But you got to know how to do it. In fact, some of you didn't even know what I was talking about, and you're like, what? But imagine adding 150 to 2,000 a square, excuse me, $1.50 to $2 a square foot to each one of your job sites. It's not just the roof, it's the square footage of the house. You with me? And imagine pain and suffering. Lake Charles. Do you know how difficult it is how many people work in Lake Charles put a roof on Lake Charles here? Like a month ago. Cruise an hour away, staying in Orange, Texas. Certain cell phones don't work. I can't get a hot sandwich over here. I got to coordinate materials. Materials probably, they don't even have these materials. I got to substitute this one. I got to ship stuff in from Texas, am I right? Is that worth Louisiana exactly pricing? Hell no, and it should be 20 and 20, not 10 and 10. And you could build 20 and 20 for that pain and suffering if you know how to do it. There's no rule that says 10 and 10 is a myth. Nobody can tell you as an entrepreneur what your overhead and profit allocation is. That's a freaking myth. It is what the entrepreneur dictates. We live in America. Price is based on the laws of a free market economy, based on the laws of supply and demand, and not a computer algorithm, right? So why are we exercised as contractors? Why are we having to go to PA, no offense, but PAs, policy attorneys, engineers, and sometimes they don't even get our price set based on what we want? If you actually look what it takes to build a roof in Lake Charles, I was there for 45 days, it's a pain in the frickin' ass, is it not? That exactment is wrong. It is pre-COVID. They haven't even captured an exactment in Lake Charles from when COVID started for the material shortage. So why should you be forced into a price fixed system by a carrier and a group of carriers which are all going, yeah, now we can set our profit margins based off X, and they know exactly what they're going to lose. It shouldn't happen. That's lump sum contracting. But that's going to take your grassroots level to overcome that. A lot of education and training, we provide that in SVGU too. And it shouldn't be that way. In fact, you can call it socialist, you can call it a lot of different names, but being forced into a price fixed system is not American. It's not the way an entrepreneur sets their price in the American economy. We agree? Yes, sir. Can I get a freaking booyah for that? Not be that way. And no state statute, no city ordinance, no anything can tell you as the entrepreneur that you can't talk about your project, your price, safety, overhead and profit allocation, OSHA violations, whatever it is, COVID, whatever it is about your job, you should be able to pick up the phone and scream through it to a desk adjuster and not be faced with a third-degree felony or a frickin' fine under UPPA because you're acting as an entrepreneur. It's your fucking project. You're the expert on the project, not the policy attorney, not the public adjuster, not the IA, not the desk adjuster, not the engineer. We bought in this myth that all these people are the experts. Now, Fortunately for you guys, we're friends with the people that are policyholder friendly, like Morgan and Morgan is here tonight. Because Morgan and Morgan. Do we have any public adjusters here? Public adjusters? Right here? And public adjusters, because there's a time and place for them. Because you're going to play the game right now. I'm not telling you to go out there and be illegal. You have to use these people when it makes sense. But we are fighting. We're talking about the Wind and Storm Conference. How many people been to the Wind and Storm Conference here? Okay, you should all get tickets to go. It's right down the highway in New Orleans. We're bringing insurance commissioners, attorney generals. We're bringing in the lieutenant governor of Louisiana, a judge, and a panel to hear these debates and hear this stuff, because it ain't right. And if we allow it to happen, if we don't voice what's happening on the streets, it'll continue to happen to get worse. Just like what happens in some cities and states under COVID-19. If you allow certain people to think it's okay to violate your constitutional rights, it'll become okay if people will start to think this is the way of doing business, and it ain't right. And someone has to speak for us. So Wind and Storm is not just a roofing seminar where we have a full trade show floor. We have 100 breakout sessions. We have great speakers. We had Gary Vee there. You know Gary Vee? Last year we had the guy who killed Osama bin Laden. We've had Robert Kawasaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. We have Michael Gerber, E-Myth. Not this year necessarily, but we bring in non-industry people because we want to inject business and motivation from non-industry to try to trigger the entrepreneur and the top sales producers to think on a different level. We have contractor CEO panels. We have PA panels, policyholder attorney panels, where these things become Q&A and questions from the audience. But guess who's watching now this year? There's only two powers that regulate the carriers, unfortunately. Anybody know what they are? Two out of the government. Insurance commissioner in the state, the attorney general. And half the insurance commissioners are in the insurance carrier's pocket. You know why? Because they used to be insurance executives. And they get paid through lobby groups and all this other stuff. So the insurance commissioner is not your friend. For all states, State Farm, Farmers, he's an insurance, he's a law firm based in Dallas, Texas. Anybody here from Dallas? Any Texas people here? Yeah. Come on, y'all. Yeah. Texas. And there's been a change. Listen, there's been a change. Because if people don't bring these people on and talk about it, and now we do a lot of video at SVG, as you guys know, we videotape and then we deploy video all across YouTube, Facebook. People are starting to pay attention. And they're realizing this might be constitutional violations. And they're realizing there's something ain't right about this situation. Why should a guy who's helping Mrs. Smith not be able to call the claim in at 11 o'clock at night? When ain't no PA policy or attorney, we can call public adjuster at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, come help Mrs. Smith file a claim. Who do you think filed the claims in Lake Charles when there's no fucking cell phone service at 11 o'clock at night? And the contractors who are smart that showed up, which are half of my fucking clients, had satellite phones. Who do you think called and filed the claim? The contractor. Do anybody want to tell that lady, that Mrs. Smith, whose roof's caved in, she got nothing on her house? Oh, sorry, we can't help you file a claim because of UPPA. It's not reality on the streets. It doesn't make sense. Who do you think mitigated that property so the insurance carrier didn't have another $500,000 in damage, $20,000 in damage? That same contractor helped her file a claim. So to scapegoat the industry contractor and make them seem like some kind of negative storm juicer, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's what they can play their game. And now things are changing. And when the storm comes, it's about changing with a voice. So yeah, we got breakout sessions. You have all your vendors there, all your building material suppliers, your manufacturers, CRM companies, the best of the best come on that trade show floor. And we bring some fun motivation speakers up there, but we bring the real issues, and that's videotaped. And that video is deployed so the powers that be hear what's going on the streets. Because if somebody doesn't draw a line in the sand, it will continue to happen. And one day you sit there, you can't talk about anything. Your contract can't say anything. You got to sit there. I mean, who wants to be in that situation? It's not American. It's not the way you should do business. And so I'm saying, Wind and Storm Conference is more about it. It's not just a roofing seminar, guys. It's about industry entrepreneurs, policyholder attorneys, public adjusters, contractors, people that are truly on the side of the policyholder coming together and trying to make a difference in this industry so that we can continue to, help a community rebuild, make money, you know what I mean? Feed our families and do what we got to do. What do you think happens when, in Lake Charles, when you're shut down from low payment, underpayment, no payment, as a contractor, emergency repairs, shrink wrap, and everything else? Do you scale? Do you hire 100 more guys to come in? Hey, let's get some hotel rooms. We have 100 more guys in from over here from my other office. You know what I saw in Lake Charles happen? Some of the brightest and best in the industry that were my clients. Precision Roofing do $80 million a year. Crafts do $40 million a year. Quick roofing, 120 million. I'm talking about guys that know how to rebuild stuff. Okay, on a massive level. Come in with good hearts, good intentions. Set up trailers in parking lots. CEOs of $50 million companies are sleeping in freaking parking lots, haven't had a hot meal in a week, and then we help feed them because they're our clients. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta stay now. I gotta drop barbecue on people, you know. And they came with good intentions, and they did what they had to do, and they got the fuck out of Lake Charles. Excuse my language, ladies. Why did they leave? Or why are they downsizing now? Louisiana prices too low. The insurance company are paying too slow. So what do you think happens to a community? Because the locals there can never rebuild that community. There's 55,000 people in a state of diaspora. Okay, it's horrible. If you haven't seen it, why did they leave? Because if you don't get cash flow into contractors' hands, they can't scale. If you can't scale, you can't help a community rebuild. I mean, I'm not talking about a little half-inch hailstorm in the Midwest, guys, where it's like huge. I'm talking about the real deal, Cat 4. And so what these carriers that people need to understand is when you don't allow a contractor to make money, you play these fucking games, Mrs. Smith times 55,000 doesn't recover. And when that happens, people in the state of diaspora, businesses leave, like they are, loss of jobs, you're talking about putting a city into like a third world country. And that's the result of an insurance carrier, multi-billion-dollar insurance carriers that have record profits every year, not putting money back into people's hands they collected premiums on, which means through you guys. You know what I mean? Through you guys. Amen?